Greetings, Daniel Kremer here for Trailers from Hell. Today I want to talk about the film that I watch every time before embarking on directing a new movie. It's a beautiful, unforgettable film called Mon Oncle Antoine, directed by Claude Jutra. It's set way up north in Quebec during winter time. It's what I call a non-Christmas movie, which is to say not a formal Christmas movie, but it is indeed set during the holiday season, and the characters are surrounded by the usual Xmas trappings. Others in that school might include Eyes Wide Shut, Die Hard, arguably even Gremlins. So bundle up for this trailer for Mon Oncle Antoine from 1971, a landmark of Canadian cinema.
Did you ever meet Mon Oncle Antoine? Or Benoit?
Claude Jutra is really the godfather of French-Canadian cinema, and you might argue of the larger Canadian cinema in general. Mon Oncle Antoine has twice been voted the greatest Canadian film of all time in the Sight and Sound poll, conducted once each decade. 3 times the Toronto International Film Festival placed it first on their list of the top 10 Canadian films of all time. Roger Ebert also placed Mon Oncle Antoine on his great movies list. What more can one say? It's rightly a recognized masterpiece, and it set Jutra up as Canada's answer to Orson Welles. The comparison there is apt because, though Jutra continued working much like Welles, his life continued to be beset with fights with various parties over his artistic vision. And like Welles, he was often later on disrespected and discarded by an industry that once celebrated him. But he soldiered on, a man obsessed with what the medium could achieve, once again very much akin to his proposed American counterpart. The narrative is simple. It's Christmas time in an asbestos mining town in northern rural Quebec, and Benoit, a 14-year-old local boy, works in his town's general store, operated by his Aunt Cecile and Uncle Antoine. We observe the local goings-on and intrigues before Benoit must accompany Antoine, who is also the town's undertaker, to pick up the body of a boy his age who suddenly took ill and died. This is a coming-of-age film in its way, but is open-texted relative to others in that subgenre, with its depiction of community and class disparities setting it apart and giving it dimension. It masters what I call poetic efficiency better than most any other movie I've ever seen, and that's a big reason why I watch it every time before I embark on directing a new film. Jutra went on from this to direct another one of my top 10 films of all time, 1973's Kamouraska, starring Geneviève Bujold and Richard Jordan, which up to that point in time was the most expensive Canadian picture ever made, and stood at an epic 175 minutes. The French backers forced him to cut almost an hour out of it, and it was released in mutilated form. Shades of the Magnificent Ambersons, though Kamouraska was eventually restored to its original length 10 years later. Amberson still has had no such luck. Jutra emigrated to English Canada, where he helmed a few more pictures, some of which are quite wonderful, before succumbing to early-onset Alzheimer's and committing suicide in 1986. There are other tragedies in his life story, but I'm not going to get into that here now. Just suffice to say that he remains one of my favorite directors and one of my filmmaking heroes, despite all the vicissitudes and controversies. I also recommend some of his other films like A Tout Prendre, Wow, his last movie La Dame en Couleurs, and the aforementioned Kamouraska, which I'm yearning to cover on Trailers from Hell if I can find an actual trailer.